everyone, and welcome to HR Works, brought to you by BLR. I'm your host, Steve Bruce. HR Works provides clear, relevant, actionable information on topics that matter to HR professionals. When you're armed with best practices, plus the knowledge to keep your organization in compliance, HR works. Every HR manager is experiencing dramatic changes in the workplace culture. We're seeing unlimited vacation policies. We're witnessing the death of the annual performance review. And to a large extent, these changes are driven by the arrival of the Millennials, who by most estimates will make up over the half the workforce soon, if they don't already. But one area that seems unchanged is reward and recognition programs. Today's guests want to change that. Taylor Smith and Kevin Yip are co-founders of Blueboard, a new recognition retention program designed to help companies recruit and retain millennial employees that traditional recognition programs don't resonate with. Taylor serves as Blueboard's CEO. From selling car washes and smoothies door to door in grade school to running a $3 million diamond and fine jewelry business at age 24, he's a born entrepreneur. After spending time within the management consulting practice at Accenture, working with AT&T and NetApp, Taylor created Blueboard. Kevin, who serves as Blueboard's COO, began his career at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where he learned that it's hard for people to make time to do what they love. His passion is to get people out of their desk chairs and into the real world, where they can discover new hobbies and indulge in their passions. Taylor, Kevin, welcome to HR Works.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Steve.
So you say that traditional recognition platforms fall short, and especially for younger millennial workers. So what's the shortfall, and what are millennials looking for that previous generations did not?
So one thing that we see millennials wanting more is they want reward programs that are more personal to them. So millennials don't like being considered a commodity, and they want something that really speaks to them as a person. So typically reward programs like cash bonuses, gift cards, merchandise programs don't really take into account who millennials are as individuals. And that's where Blueboard really shines, is we allow companies to reward their employees to experiences. And those employees get to choose an experience that's right for them. So whether they want to go skydiving for the first time, or they want to take a significant other to learn to make Italian gnocchi, or if they want to get a couples massage, we allow them to basically pick a personal, unique experience that's right for them.
All right. Well, I'm ready. Let's see. What are the favorite rewards that you feature?
You know what? So we see people choose all types of things, and I think since you brought up millennials earlier, it's interesting to touch on a point that all generations love experiences, but the types of experiences that different generations prefer are actually very different. So as an example, when we first started this company, we're millennials, so we knew that we like adrenaline and action type things. So we started our company with experiences like skydiving or drive a NASCAR race car, or maybe even go bungee jumping or dive with great white sharks. But as we started gaining more clients, we started working with companies that had employees that maybe the average age wasn't 25, maybe it was 35 or 45. And just from talking to the leadership of those companies and the employees themselves, we realized that older generations like different types of experiences that might be going to a Michelin-starred restaurant to get a very nice dinner, or maybe getting a couples massage, or going to a weekend getaway to a nice coastal town. So really, we try to offer things for every generation. So one of the interesting differences that we found is millennials really prefer novel experiences. So something like diving great white sharks, or going to a music festival that's new and novel, where older generations actually really like things where they can spend time with people that they love. So the experiences at the surface level might seem a little bit more ordinary, such as taking your family to a baseball game or going to a theme park, but they're actually just as meaningful and memorable for boomers and Generation X.
Well, it's sounding better and better. Is there anything different about how you decide who gets a reward or how you choose who gets an award?
Yeah, so Blueboard is, how we help companies deliver amazing experiences as rewards. And we actually help the companies craft their recognition program. So whether it's a spot reward program for managers or a sales contest for the top sales reps, it really just depends on the use case, and we work with them to help craft that program. So it really just depends on the program.
I see. Okay. Now, you've said that today's employees want an emotional connection with the people they work for, and a program like Blueboard can help generate that connection. Could you elaborate on that some?
Yeah, Steve. So, no, that's a great question, and it's really an origin of why we started the company. So when I was working at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Taylor had a very similar experience at Accenture doing consulting, I had been working 60, 80-hour weeks. Over the course of this project, that was 3 months long, I had gained 20 pounds. My girlfriend at the time wasn't talking to me because I didn't have any time to see her. And my manager, she came up to me and she said, "Kevin, thank you so much for your hard work. Here's an American Express gift card." And it just felt incredibly impersonal. I had poured all my emotional energy, all my time into this project to make it successful, and all she could do is give me a gift card. And what we thought was, she wasn't bad, and she didn't have bad intentions. She was very well intentioned, but she didn't have the time or resources to be thoughtful and recognize me in a meaningful way. And so that's really what we were talking about. What I was craving and what Taylor was craving was we wanted to be recognized as a person and to be connected with emotionally. So imagine if my manager, she had come up to me and said, "Hey, Kevin, I know you've been stressed about gaining your weight and being out of shape, and I know you've been talking about boxing. I actually got you a 1-month membership to a boxing gym around the corner." Or if she said, "Hey, Kevin, I know you and your girlfriend are doing so well because you haven't spent time with her. Why don't you take her out to a nice date, do a cheese and wine pairing class?" Imagine what that would have said to me as an employee. I would have felt more valued. I would have felt closer to my manager. I would have felt more loyal to her, to my company. I would have stayed longer, and I would have worked harder. And really, that starts from being recognized personally, and in turn, having that emotional connection with your employees. And so that's really why Blueboard started, and that's really what we're trying to empower companies, empower managers to do, to connect with their employees and recognize them in meaningful ways.
Now, I gather that you've also found that using the Blueboard approach, it's not only an emotional connection for the individual, but it also helps create a culture of camaraderie in the workplace. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things we share with our clients is that when considering various rewards, cash is very quiet. And what we mean by that is recognition moments are a huge opportunity to make an impact with your star performers and your top employees. And when cash is given out as a bonus or a spot award, nobody talks about it. It's taboo. If you receive, let's say, a $1,000 bonus, you can't ask the person next to you if they received a $1,000 bonus. And the person who gets a $10,000 bonus certainly isn't going to share it with anyone. So a lot of cash rewards, you just can't talk about them, and they go straight into your bank account. What Blueboard rewards do is they're inherently different. So let's say you have people who get 3 different levels of awards, 500, 1,000, and 2,500. Each of those people is going to go out and have a unique experience. So maybe the $2,500 reward gets to go on a weekend getaway to San Diego and go to the beach. But the $500 person who receives the $500 reward gets to take their whole family to a baseball game. Both of those people are going to feel very valued because they received a personal experience, and they're all going to come back to the office on Monday and talk about their experience without any guilt or shame, because they're not comparing dollar amounts, which are incredibly transactional. They're actually comparing and sharing stories about things they did with their family and their loved ones, which you really can't place a value on, and you can't compare at surface level.
Well, I like the sound of this. Now, just in general, do you have some standard best practices for developing and managing recognition and rewards programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things is, there's definitely a lot of best practices like tying recognition to your company values, making it, recognizing in real time. I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is recognition is a very human interaction, right? It's at its core, someone saying thank you to another. So what does that mean? We want recognition to be incredibly personal, right? So, at the end of the day, we are a tech platform that helps managers, companies give experiences as rewards. But ultimately, we want it to be personal. So we provide every one of our clients with really nice stationery for the manager to write a personal note, for a team to collectively write a note to an individual, and physically hand them this card saying thank you and congratulating them for receiving a Blueboard reward. So in terms of a best practice for recognizing employees, it needs to be personal, and it needs to be hopefully in person, where you physically hand them something.
Personal and in person. Okay, now I think you've said that only 14% of managers say that they're provided with the necessary tools for rewarding employees. So that's obviously a problem, but it sounds like your system maybe provides some of those tools.
Yeah, absolutely. We think that a lot of problems with recognition today actually come from the lack of access to tools that help facilitate effective recognition. And what I mean by that is, if you're a manager and you don't have the proper tools at hand, you're going to do one of two things. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to reward someone the easiest way, the most convenient way. Maybe not the most effective or the best way, but the most convenient. And that's why we see a lot of managers choosing to reward with gift cards. There's actually a crazy stat. In the U.S., approximately $16 billion with a B is spent by companies on gift cards to reward their employees. So that's a huge market born largely out of convenience, just because it's the easiest thing to do. Now, the second thing that you get when there's a lack of tools for recognition is no recognition. If there's no easy way for managers to say thank you, sometimes they're just not going to do it. And so what we created Blueboard for is to actually give managers a tool to easily make that personal connection and recognize their top employees with the click of a button, knowing that that employee is going to have a menu of experiences to choose from and is going to be able to choose something that's meaningful to them. So what Blueboard really is we're just making a tool that's really easy for managers to give personal recognition without any of the complexities that would come with doing this on their own.
I see. So that's the managers, but then I gather you've also found a communication problem around rewards with employees, that many employees don't even know there is a recognition program at their companies. So how do you communicate the rewards program? Or maybe from what you're saying, it kind of communicates itself.
Well, I think with a company adopting Blueboard and making it into a recognition program at their respective companies, it definitely speaks for themselves. But there are many tactics to communicating recognition, it really depends on the type of company and communication culture you have. But at the end of the day, there needs to be leadership buy-in, right? The leaders need to believe in the recognition program and what it can do for the company's culture, for the performance, and ultimately retention. And so when we see leaders, CEOs bought into recognition, everyone in the company knows it because everyone is listening to that person. We just onboarded and launched a program at a large pharmaceutical company, and the CEO went up in an all-hands meeting, talked for 5 minutes about how he values each and every one of their employees and how he wants to recognize them in ways that are meaningful to them, and announced Blueboard. And literally we have videos, everyone's cheering, everyone's very excited, and I can tell you 100% of the people at that company know that a recognition program exists, what they're getting, and what qualifies them to be recognized.
Wow. That just sounds great. Any final tips you have to sum this all up?
Yeah, I think the last thing that we'd want to add is really recognition and rewarding your employees, like Kevin said, is very much a human interaction. It's the simple act of saying thank you and appreciating someone for their hard work. And what's interesting is that a lot of companies tend to look at recognition as more, at having a recognition program as more of a checklist item. It's like a to-do list. Oh, eventually we'll create a recognition program and all will be good. But I think one thing that our most successful and top clients have realized, and that companies are starting to catch on to, is that a recognition program is not a checklist item. Recognition is a habit that can be fostered and grown internally until it becomes an organizational habit that all managers practice and that senior leadership supports. And I think that's one thing that companies, if they realize that and realize the importance of it, I think they'd have really large advantages just in terms of companies that have more recognized employees retain their employees longer. Companies that recognize their employees see that their employees put forth more discretionary effort. There's just so many benefits to recognition that I think our main message to potential clients and our clients is just that recognition is a big opportunity to inspire and engage your workforce, and it's relatively, compared to other investments you can make, it's a relatively sound and predictable way to inspire your workforce.
Well, this program sounds great. I have one final question. What's the origin of the name Blueboard?
Sure. So I went to UC Berkeley as an undergrad, and on Sproul Plaza, which is the main plaza on the campus, there were all of these bulletin boards that had announcements and notifications of local adventures and activities. So do you know the bulletin boards where there's a bunch of phone numbers at the bottom with little slits cut with scissors so you could rip off the phone number or the email address to get more information? Have you guys seen those before?
Sure.
Yeah, so there would be notifications about intramural basketball or Shabbat dinner or maybe learn to tango dance. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a digital representation of that bulletin board, which had blue construction paper behind it. So we want Blueboard to be the go-to spot for people to find all of the adventures and activities that their cities and their communities have to offer.
Oh, great. So listeners, to find out more about Blueboard, you can go to blueboard.com/about. So Taylor and Kevin, thanks so very much for joining us today. It's fascinating to hear about your venture.
Thanks for having us, Steve.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Listeners, please let me know what HR Works should cover next. sbruce@blr.com. Thanks for listening. This is Steve Bruce for HR Works.
The opinions expressed on HR Works do not represent legal or any other type of professional advice and should not be used as a substitute for legal advice from a qualified attorney licensed in your state.